Hello and welcome. This is a collective reading for the Sagittarius new moon that's happening for most of the world on the 1st of December, but for some of you it will be on the last day of November. Hello and welcome. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and as you just heard and as you can see, I channel multi-dimensional energies through my body, both in the form of physical and vocal light language. All of this brings in healing, attunement, and activation codes to the messages that come through in this reading. Now, I'm going to be breaking down the astrology for the exact moment of this Sagittarius new moon, of how all the celestial bodies are talking to each other, right? What sort of energetic frequency are they creating that's going to get imprinted into the Sagittarius area of our chart for the next 6 months, leading us up to the Sagittarius full moon next year in Gemini season. And so I really like to tap into the most integrated and expansive intention, the root energy of what this new moon's all about for us collectively. This forms the baseline for the All 12 Signs series that will be coming out after this. I'm going to be pulling some tarot cards while I break down the astrology. All these oracle cards I pulled, when was it, yesterday, when Mercury had gone retrograde, and that is very much tied into this next lunation cycle, because it'll be going direct the day of the Gemini full moon. And obviously Mercury's now retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius, so it's all linked in. So all these oracle cards, they're always on deck from the beginning of the transit recording, and I'll be doing an oracle reading following the All 12 Signs series. So let's get into it. Well, new moon in Sagittarius. New moon is the start of a new cycle, right? It's we've incorporated everything that we've been learning since the Sagittarius full moon back in Gemini season, and now we're activating a new cycle. This is a time to set intentions, to plant seeds, because the moon is at her darkest and she is receiving the full light of the illumination of the sun into those unconscious realms, and then you'll find your intuition just guiding you over the next 6 months in regards to those seeds that you've planted. So a Sagittarius new moon, this is happening at 9 degrees 32 minutes of Sagittarius. If you've got anything in the sign of Sagittarius around that, that's also going to be activating an even bigger new moon cycle, a new fresh start. Anything in mutable signs, that's Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces, around those degrees, you're going to be getting squares and oppositions, and this is all about building and commitment. Oh, they're very chatty today. Today is Wednesday, is Mercury's day. As I said yesterday, Mercury went retrograde, and that was on the 26th of November. So you might want to look to what was going on that day, what messages were coming through, who reached out to you, what thought processes were you going through, and that's going to highlight what this retrograde's all about. I will be pulling in the All 12 Sign series a couple of cards on the Mercury retrograde. I'll pull a couple of cards of its intention in this video. Ooh, first card up. Overall theme is the Chariot. I love that for Sagittarius, right? This is a mutable fire sign, and we've got the half horse, half human, the archer, right? This sense of amalgamation of the spirit and the material world and how it moves through the world. So we've got a movement card showing up, right? So there's this sense of confidence in where we're heading, what the next stage is. The Chariot is all about, I mean, this is also Cancer card, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. So there's something around our emotional body being in alignment with our instincts. Fire is very instinctive in nature. It's not necessarily a thought process, a sensation in the body, or an emotional response. It's simply that impulse to do. And the Chariot doesn't try and control things. You see, there are no reins. They're not trying to plan or worry or have a sense of control over where they're headed. They understand that every experience they've ever had is acted as a resource for where they're at now and how to move through the world. We have the two sphinxes, right? They very much represent the pillars on the high priestess, right? This sense of the material and the spiritual world coming together in union. They're sort of pulling us forward, this sense of balance and confidence and victory within ourselves as we move through the world and just really appreciating every experience that comes through and knowing that it's taking us to a more confident energy, a more sense of awareness of all the possibilities of energy and how they all act as resources. The sun at the bottom of the deck. Let's take this one out. You know, it's the biggest yes card of the tarot, and you know, I love the sort of the inner child there, right? And it really represents the sense of letting go of burning up dynamics, resistance, limiting beliefs that our inner child often goes out and recreates, right? Because it's gone through some certain things that are so embedded in the unconscious that we then go and recreate them. And whenever the sun turns up, that really feels like a liberation of a lot of that energy, right? This sense of freedom and light and play and joy. And I love that with the Chariot, two major arcana here. And all those sunflowers, they know how to get the light. They know which direction to head in order to get the light. And so this is so representative of the Sagittarius new moon, right? Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So there's a real sense of expansion, of knowing, of wisdom. But, you know, the last weekend I was down in Bristol seeing a lot of friends, and that crew is like predominantly Sagittarius energy, right? Went to a rave, and there's this sense of movement, this sense of communion, right? Of enjoying ourselves and being in our flow, right? And not necessarily taking things too seriously, but it's not about not being serious, but this sense of energy of restriction, right? Of limitations, of control, that when we take things too seriously, that Sagittarius energy is able to move and shift the mutable energy with the generosity of spirit of Jupiter. There's just a sense of a lightness of being. Itiala, you think of the biggest gas giant. Itiala, dishini mo etela, dishini mo itieni mo tufala, itieni mo. You know, it's a yang energy, so there is this sense of outward action, of outward movement, and just the desire to play and experience all the different side quests. You know, Jupiter's also linked into the law, into philosophy, that sort of bigger picture energy, and that faith within ourselves that allows us to move through the world with a bit more confidence and a bit more ease. Now, regulars who caught the Taurus full moon energy, that was very much about releasing a lot of limitations in the head that have blocked our physical body, our physical senses from tapping into abundance and really appreciating our existence. And now we've got this new moon in Sagittarius that's allowing that bit more confidence, allowing a little bit more faith in where we're headed, and that ability to take action and our instincts coming through from that. Just got the Three of Pentacles as I was talking about that. And the Three of Pentacles is all about mastery of self, right? The figure on the left, I always link it into Michelangelo, who was a famous sculptor in the Renaissance. And his ideology around sculpting marble, right, was that he was just uncovering what was already in the marble. So it wasn't a sense of controlling it, but being in your flow through your actions to reveal something beautiful. But he was very confident in just doing his thing. He needed to do that. That was his instinct, his compulsion. And, you know, despite what anyone else around him may have said of like, oh, this is, you know, maybe you should go into being like a cobbler or a tradesman or an accountant or whatever, or a doctor. Let's apply it more to the modern. I mean, all those things were in the Renaissance, of something that was steady, right? Something that was steady in the income that you were coming through, but it would go against your natural instinct. Now, this figure on the left didn't do that, and they came into a sense of authority and autonomy through themselves that allowed that sense of mastery of self to really build and grow. This is also about collaboration in order to build something beautiful and long lasting, whether that's collaboration with other parts of yourself that are all coming into union, or this is collaboration with others in order to build as you go on your little journeys, perhaps meeting people on side quests. But I love that this is earth energy coming in, and I'm going to talk about Venus later on in this reading. That there's a real sense of building for the long term in the energy that we're cultivating. Also, I did just talk about that Taurus eclipse. Oh, not Taurus eclipse, sorry for shaking. Taurus full moon. So, and it's coming before all of this. So it's an element of like bringing in that energy of our capacity to build from our sense of autonomy in the 3D world, that is then allowing the movements and the side quests and the energies and the adventures that we're going to go on more in alignment with that autonomy and that mastery of self. Tofia la diala, they like that one. Okay, so let's get into what's going on with the sun and the moon, right? What aspects are they making to the rest of the chart? Now, first up, we have Mars over in the sign of Leo, right? A fellow fire sign. And this new moon is trining that Mars energy. Now, a trine is an aspect of Jupiter, right? And so there's a real sense of ease and flow. They're both fire signs, they're both yang signs, so they're able to transfer energy very easily. And this is about integration and expansion, right? There's a real sense of elevating the fire within ourselves. Itoela, our instincts, itoe, our passions, our drives, our courage. Itiala dishiniale motoela. With Mars, who will shortly be going retrograde. Just to let you know, I will be doing a Mars retrograde series that's going to kick off in Leo and then move back into Cancer. Mars is going to be in these two signs for quite some time. Now, Mars in Leo, right? That's operating from the heart space. There's a sense of confidence within yourself, the real sense of vitality that's coming through with this new moon. Whereas, you know, Leo is fixed energy, right? It wants to keep on going and maintaining. So there's something here around the new moon, the new intentions, the new cycle, being in alignment with our heart and our capacity to keep on going along the journey. Based on our sense of belief and our sense of faith. Sagittarius can often be linked into sort of preacher energy, of like that real confidence in your wisdom and wanting to go out and tell everybody, right? So with that Mars alignment in the sign of Leo, there's really a sense of this faith, this belief, this sense of understanding, not necessarily the details of the journey, but this sort of knowing within yourself of the end destination in the unconscious realm that we're going to see come out through our motivation, our drive and our action from the heart in the Leo area of our charts. Overall, again, coming back into these two cards of the sun and the chariot, right? And, you know, this is, you know, as I said, Cancer, which is the moon's ruled by the moon, and we've got the sun. So there's bringing in the sense of this new energy coming in that's very supportive of us in this frequency. For regulars, you know, I've been talking about how we've shifted paradigms, and currently at the moment we are figuring out the tools in the new landscape and really trying to put that into practice from a very authentic place. And so with this new energy coming through with our ability to adapt and shift and change in this new landscape, that's then feeding into Mars in this fixed energy of being able to implement it and keep going with it. Ishania shotoela dishinia. So over the next 6 months, we're really going to find a lot of clues about how it's going to unfold through that Mars energy, right? Through our drive, through our passions. Like, what are we focusing on over the next 6 months? And you're just going to get clues and signs through your intuitive body, your fire, your impulse, your compulsion, of, rather than overthinking things, of really finding quite naturally through the way you take action what's in alignment, and where it's taking you in regards to level up the skills in order to work with this paradigm. So what's come through with that is the Death card, the Seven of Wands, and the Knight of Wands. And so the Death card is all about letting go, and what it's calling us to let go of is the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands, they're on the cliff, they're on the higher ground, they have something of value. I always like to focus on the face, right? This face really doesn't look like it understands and knows its own value, knows its own instinct, knows its own passion, and its drive it's falling into competition mode, it's falling into scarcity mindset. It's one of the archetypal symbols of what we're working through right now as a species, right? Of believing that there are limits out there in our capacity to be and create, and where our instincts take us beyond the conflict mode. And so with that Death card, it is saying we're going through a cycle of letting go of that has restricted our movement and restricted our faith in how the universe can shift around us to provide us with opportunities that allow more play, more joy, more wisdom, more sense of, as I said, that generosity of spirit, and just having a good time. There's such a confidence with Sagittarius. As I said, it is the yang Jupiter energy, so there is a real sense of, Jupiter's, going out and feeling all puffed up and feeling like it, it's the king of the gods, right? That kind of energy. And so we're infusing that. And then we have the Knight of Wands, right? So this is very Mars in a fire sign of the embodiment of our instincts. And so there's two messages coming through this. One, our instincts and our actions are going to highlight what we need to let go of in terms of this. And also the flip side of that, of our instincts and our actions, our embodiment, watching what your instincts are telling you to do, watching the actions that you're taking, is going to really sort of help you release a lot of things, as well as you're going to know when you're in your flow with that, right? You're going to know when you're getting resonances, when you're getting synchronicities. I just feel called to look at the bottom of the deck. Lol. Okay, Six of Wands. That again, this is tying on with the theme of just this figure went and did the thing that it was instinctively driven to do. Right? It wasn't about what other people thought. It wasn't about the expectations of others. It just instinctively knew it had to go and do the damn thing. And there's often challenges with the Six of Wands that this person's gone through, but overcome them and achieved a great victory. We have the two victory cards with the Chariot and the Six of Wands. And at the end of this, right, you're going to feel really good about yourself because you will have achieved something. Both the challenges that I've said and also the just following that instinct and feeling when that fire is really powerful. And as I said, the synchronicities around you really letting you know when you're on that path. And this figure is about to be celebrated. There's a sense of recognition, right? They're about to go and have a massive banquet because everyone's like, woohoo, they did the thing that we all needed that person to do. And so there's a real sense of activation within yourself of feeling really good about the journey that you are going on with the next 6 months, as well as potentially getting a feedback loop from the outside world of an awareness of what you've been doing, and it's supporting every individual thing, every individual journey that you go on, of like really centering yourself and getting really in alignment with your inner work is serving the collective. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the things that you're doing are linked into sort of collective obvious energy, right, of say going and doing a project that is facilitating the community. That's one thing, but it's not always that. It's often sometimes just the inner work and the inner journey that you're doing that is serving the collective. Fire, Sagittarius is the fire collective sign, so there is always that underlying energy of what you're doing with this, with what you're doing with Sagittarius is aligning the instincts and the passion and the drive drive of the collective. So, as well as making a beautiful trine with Mars, the Sun and the Moon are also making a trine with the North Node in Aries. So we've got all 3 fire signs being activated with this. So it's a real doubling down on your instinctive nature, of your passions, your drive, right? Your capacity to be very courageous and very instinctive. And transform your environment. So the North Node over in Aries is calling us to find our autonomy, find our independence, and really strive into new territory of the individual, right? The I am of it all. And really wanting to go out and experience through your own understanding and not be told what to do, and not be influenced by the collective or the social energy in a way that diminishes your spark of spirit, that Aries energy. So again, all of this is called creating a grand fire trine. So all the fire signs are being activated. So all the wisdom of all 3 are all integrating with each other. And so really elevating that instinctive nature, which I just think is so beautiful after that Taurus full moon, which was conjunct Uranus, Al Gore. It was really powerful. I felt like I had a whole nervous reset. Everyone I've spoken to has had very similar energy come through, and just feeling a little bit more in your flow, in your body, right? In the way that you move through the world, in terms of what your physical, but how your physical body is responding to it, rather than getting drained or frustrated. There's just a sense of ease that's coming in with that full moon. And I love that we've then got the grand fire trine of, with that sort of healing of the body, right? That our instincts are now liberated and more free to be in alignment with spirit, in alignment with source, in alignment with our higher self. Now, I've had a little bit of a thought process that's been going on for a while in terms of the words higher self and source, right? And our guides, right? And soul monads and all of these sort of things that we are externalizing our power to, because we kind of sometimes need the adult in the room, right? We need that sense of, if we're unsure of what we're doing or what's going on, a sense of, oh no, my guides are here to support me. The angels are here to support me. Source, the sense of the higher self is guiding me through this. And it's essentially, it's externalizing our own power, right? It's sort of making it separate, like that there's a hierarchical system, when in fact we are all of those things that I've just talked about. And the whole process that we're going through in our incarnations is to get back and really, really embody that knowing that we are our guides. We are source, we are our higher self, right? And the whole process of what we're doing is to get back to that authority, that pure instinct of alignment with your frequency. So what, it really feels like this energy that's coming through is getting us more into that confident space, that sense of knowing that, right? And embodying it through our instincts. Right, let's get one more card for the grand fire trine. The Sun and the Moon are making a wide sextile to the South Node as well. So we've got this eclipse cycle being tied in, so very yang in energy. And that South Node in Libra is, helping us refine people pleasing and moving away from that, and really bringing a sort of depth to our quality of how we communicate our truth and what is our inner equilibrium. So with this moon and making a sextile, which is an aspect of Venus, it's about creativity. It's about creativity, love, appreciation, value, a real sense of harmony that comes in with the sextile. Again, it's sort of easy, free-flowing energy with this South Node of an awareness of what isn't our truth, an awareness of what isn't our instincts, an awareness of what limits that sense of expansion that we have within us, an awareness of bringing in a clarity of our inner truth that's our inner equilibrium that is then guiding us moving forwards. Itiala di shiniali muela di shatiani o to shanima di tinima o to fala di shinia do shanamo toela. So for all of this, we've actually got a lot of pentacles. We have the page of wands. Itialima di shinimo toela. So we've got the 5 of pentacles in reverse. And this is all about a scarcity complex, a fear mindset, feeling left out in the cold, not feeling supported, right? They're outside the church. They're not feeling that connection. And this can really limit our movement and our expectations of how the world is going to respond to us as we move through it, right? Of as I said, that scarcity mindset, that fear mindset, usually for very good reason, right? But it doesn't mean that that's going to get recreated. So I really like that this is turned up in the reversal of saying that this new moon, this energy that's coming through, all this fire, all this passion, all of this movement, this realignment of our instincts is taking us away from this. Right, it's put us in the reverse, so that all of that fire, of that capacity to go out into new territories, a North Node in Aries, to operate from the heart and not have that heart be broken by these situations. It's allowing us to move in different ways. We then have the page of wands, big fire energy of a new way of thinking, a new way of engaging with the world, new downloads, new messages, new instincts of how we're learning and how we're growing in this new environment. With the 8 of Pentacles, this is stepping up to our own experience. This is whistle while you work. This is putting in the dedication to refine your earthly experience and master it. Itiala di Shinia with the devil in reverse. Hello, Capricorn. And all of this process is leading to us to really experience in the 3D world an environment where we're not limited by these chains that wrap around us, by these core responses that usually happen in our early years, or because of the environment that we find ourselves in, the more denser matrices. This process of the refinement of our understanding of how to operate from our instincts beyond the fear mindset is pulling back the veil around this sense of limitation and this sense of block through our manifestation. Because before the Christians turned the horned god into the devil, this was the horned god was a representation of the masculine manifestation energy. Now that is not sex specific. We have it within all of us. It's the outward yang energy of building, right? Think of Capricorn, of the long-term build. So there's a sense of restriction around our capacity to manifest in that way that this transit is really helping bring into an alignment. And that's going to, it's going to see, because it's a new moon, so we're starting with new energy and then building and building and building on that we're going to start to see that those addictions, those restrictions, those impulses and compulsions that we may have, distorted love languages, prioritizing certain vices, all of that kind of thing, that sense of stagnation, through our daily practice of following our instincts and, with that observer mode of what's serving and what isn't serving. We are going to be refining the process, as I said, of creating in the 3D world that is no longer blocked by certain things. And with that Capricorn energy, I'm just going to go over to Venus. She's really been, even though she's not making an aspect to this moon, she's not making an aspect to either Jupiter or Mercury, who are ruling, basically ruling the whole chart. But she's coming into conjunction with Ceres, and Ceres is an asteroid, and she represents the harvest. She represents the bounty, the sense of nurturing and nourishing. The sense of nutrition, right, and caretaking. And they're in Capricorn, right, with that devil energy. And both Venus and the moon are what's called out of bounds. Now, out of bounds celestial bodies, everything can be out of bounds other than the sun, okay? Because what out of bounds represents is, so the sun has a certain arc, and obviously that changes with the seasons. Now, if there's a celestial body that goes above the arc, that's called out of bounds. So it's not between the sun and the earth, it's now between the sun and the solar system, between the sun and you know, the Milky Way. Now, these two, the moon and Venus, are very out of bounds. So there's different stages of the out of bounds energy. I can't remember what astrologer did some really good work on this. One of the main guys who activated the evolutionary astrology methodology. He did loads of really good research. I think his name begins with S, on out of balance. And so if it's like slightly above the sun, right, this is where we are, you know, it's kind of outlander energy, right? It's like way outside of the collective thinking. But if it's just above the sun, it's very future thinking, very maverick energy, but it has the capacity of bringing it back into the collective. Now, and as it gets, as celestial bodies get further and further away from that arc, like the furthest away, you can see it as like the sage who goes and lives in the mountain and really isn't bothered about bringing their frequency back into the collective, even though what they're doing is helping the collective. They're just not physically bringing it in. So Venus and the moon are very, very out of bounds. And so there's something very personal here of our journey out into the stratosphere, of our ideas that we're having that are very unique to us, that we don't necessarily need to force on other people or like really like consciously bring it back into the collective. And I love this because of that mutable energy, especially Sagittarius, of the wanderer, of going out on our own little adventures, you know, without, you know, the need to then come back and do show and tell, right? And so often, sometimes we can go on journeys or we can experience things and we feel like we've got to then share them with everybody, because otherwise people are like, well, what on earth have you been up to? Prove yourself, right? And so we can have some sort of shame that we're not necessarily, paying it forward in that stereotypical way. Whereas this is really highlighting that through your individual instinctive journey and going beyond anything that you can contemplate, beyond anything society can contemplate, you are inherently bringing that energy back into the collective, but it doesn't necessarily have to be really obvious. It doesn't have to be where everyone's sort of patting you on the back. It doesn't mean that they're not going to do that at the end, right, of this cycle. But there's a real sense of liberation around here, around the need to sort of get the approval. It's a very sort of I am energy. So both the moon, right, our emotional body, our intuition, whether our needs are being met or not, how we give and receive nourishment, as well as Venus, that sense of desire, love, connection, harmony, creativity, they're out of bounds. And so this is sort of tying back on that devil in reverse of certain addictions, certain understandings of how you respond in the 3D that are based on perhaps certain expectations of what society thinks of you or your nearest and dearest, that we sometimes can feedback loop into their view of you, right? And again, the impulses that don't serve you on this really weird journey that we're all going on, that's going to be very unique to each of you. That Venus energy with the moon of making sure that, you know, your needs are being met in very radical future thinking beyond the confines of the world. Like, for example, I get a real kick out of the channeling that I do when I'm by myself and I'm like in full flow. And I don't always know what it's about. I can't even then turn to someone and say, oh, this is the download that I got, but I feel an energy around it that is so uplifting to myself, but there's no rationale. I can't, one of the things I've had to work through with the channeling that I do is I don't always get clear messages come through. And I've had to really make peace with that I can't just then hand the answer to the people around me of what's going on. But being in that flow state, being in union with all of that energy, it just gives me a lot of life and it gives me a lot of joy. But I don't often do it because it doesn't have that immediate, here you go, here's the result, here's something like tangible that I can then say, well, this, warranted that hour that I was doing that. We are moving beyond that and nourishing needs that go beyond that sense of productivity. Ala dinia doshalia dialia la mayala diale moyala. Whoa, they like that one. Sorry guys, that was quite loud. Ishali moyela dishani motafala dishani motinima diana. And then that Venusian energy in Capricorn, which, as I said, Austin Coppock is an astrologer, and he did a load of stuff on the astrology podcast, and this was years ago when I first got into astrology. And one of the things that he said about Capricorn, which has always stuck in my head, and I always want to give credit for that, is Capricorn is the person who has the intention and the motivation to start building a cathedral. Now, cathedrals used to take hundreds of years. So it's this element of the commitment to doing the damn thing, to building for the long term without needing the acknowledgement and the recognition and the satisfaction of that thing happening and being finalized in your lifetime. Okay, that's just giving me a ding in my head of a lot of what we do is serving the next life and the next and the next and the next and the next. And the more that we step into resonance of that, the more that we can be at peace with how things are showing up and not be in conflict with the unfolding of those side quests. If, you know, you're not getting all the sort of the jackpot energy every time, you will be, but just in ways that are part of a longer term cycle. And I'm not saying that things aren't going to come through that are really resonant, that are make you feel good, are seem productive. I'm just saying that we can often have an inner resonance within us that is constantly in conflict with all the moments where we're not that. And so that Venus energy of taking you beyond impulses, love responses, sense of value, appreciation, the sense of your creative outlooks, how you look at your creation energy, how you engage with the pleasure principle. All of those things are, one, devil card in reverse, limiting beliefs falling away. Two, activating a deeper resonance within you that is more expansive than the denser frameworks that we currently in, that will serve you, sorry for knocking it again, serve you in the long term, that is just really grounded, like the mountain, the stability of that, the foundations of that, of really being able to observe your love languages and where they take you. And again, the same side, observe what's not serving you, observe where there's synchronicities, observe where there's a lightness, a frequency. Right. Okay, so there's lots of stuff I want to talk about, but let's get into how this moon is being ruled by Jupiter. And I still want one more card on the Venus energy with that Ceres energy of this new moon is going to activate a cycle of a deeper awareness, a deeper love for how you move through the world, where you will see bounty come in, where you will see the harvest. You will get this sense of nourishment with that Ceres Venus energy feeding into the resonance of this cycle. Let's get one more card. Yes. So we have Libra. Okay, Page of Cups. We have a Justice card, which is Libra, which is ruled by Venus. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles, very Capricorn energy. So new cycle around how we communicate. We've got two pages come up. This page is talking to a fish in a cup, and that fish is talking back, and neither of them are weirded out by it. Right, so again, this is a sense of this awareness of the non-rational, awareness of other possibilities. There's so much we don't know, and there's such an unfolding in the collective consciousness around all of these things, that's just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. You know, I always try my best to have these kind of conversations with people who it's just not in their frame of reference. They've not come across these things in their own journey, and I've just noticed a stronger openness to it. Like, I can often tell when people's energy is closed or open, so I always try and read the room. But I'm noticing more and more and more and more and more and more that it's getting wider, that sense of the open portal within everybody of, okay, some weird stuff's been happening, and I don't know what to think about it, but I want to have a conversation with about it and figure out how I feel about it. So that Page of Cups is very Piscean in nature, and there's Saturn is squaring this moon in Pisces, which I'll get to. But with that Venus series energy of our capacity to see the magic, right? Our capacity to observe it and be playful with it and start communicating in different ways with it, right? Think of that out of bounds energy of what kind of resources are we bringing in from the galaxies, right? From the center of the universe. There's a real sense of elevation, right? Think of Pisces, of that sort of unconditional love, that sort of resonance of empathy with everybody's path and the path that they're walking on, bringing that into the elevation of our love language and the way that we engage with the world, and opening up certain restrictions that we have of finding love in strange places, all right, and in non-rational ways. That's allowing more flow, and a sort of heightened sense of resonance in the way that we're communicating with the world, in the way that we're taking action, the messages that we're getting that is coming from a very deep resonance of that oceanic love, right, that we're all connected, and making peace with the way that you move through the world and the way that everybody else moves through the world. We've then got Justice. This is the inner equilibrium, the truth, that sense of objectivity and empathy again, right, of observing your reality, and finding the truth in it that serves you, right, making good decisions, certain soul contracts coming through with this new moon, this new energy that is in alignment with this your inner equilibrium, right, and we're then building on that with the Ten of Pentacles, this sense of resonance of the resources that are coming through, that are establishing a higher level of understanding of your magical reality, establishing a deeper equilibrium over the next 6 months, as well as the sense of resources that are coming through that is giving you this sort of awareness of your longer term legacy and your capacity to build with it. Now, what was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, Jupiter rules this moon, and where is Jupiter? Jupiter's over in Gemini, and is retrograde at the moment, which we'll see sort of questionings of faith, right? A sense of inner delving into what is truth, what is your faith, what is your knowing, and how, and again, questioning everything around you in a really healthy way, because it's establishing a deeper connection to the way that you collect information, right? Especially with that Gemini energy that's creating new neural connections where you're piecing together different things, right? Not just taking things as read, but making your own explorations in how the information that what you're receiving, and how to put it all together, right? And bring some kind of coming together of that inner faith within yourself. Now, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So where's Mercury? As I said at the beginning of the video, in Sagittarius. And these two are opposite each other, and they're in each other's signs, which is what's called mutual reception. We had this energy with the Taurus full moon that was ruling most of the chart. This chart is all being ruled by Jupiter and Mercury. So Mercury is now retrograde, as I said. Yesterday, 26th, you may have noticed certain things come up, certain messages, people reaching out to you that are part of the Mercury retrograde. As I said, at the end of this, I'm going to pull a couple of cards on it. But these two are both retrograde with mutual reception with one another. And what does that mean? Well, that means they're basically psychically hotlined with each other. They're facilitating each other's journey. So imagine you go around someone's house who you've never been before, in your house sitting, and you've got no idea where anything is. So you're going to spend a good amount of time figuring out what's going on. What are your resources? Now, when planets are in mutual reception, they don't need to do that, right? They just know. So it just makes their journey a lot easier and more elevated. So they're ruling the whole chart. And so we've got Jupiter, which is about faith, a knowing, a wisdom, expansion, elevation, a deeper sort of confidence within yourself that's being established with the retrograde. Retrogrades is when planets go back and forth over the same degrees 3 times. So we reevaluate, we revise, we realign, we bring depth, we bring nuance to a certain frequency that's going on, that is really allowing us to like really cultivate and come up with more complex and nuanced, deeper ideas and wisdom. But it does, mean that things aren't necessarily manifesting moving forwards straight away. So it's a real inner journey. I find retrogrades to be very yin in their nature. So where we cultivate, we bring nuance, we observe, right? So it's often best with retrogrades to not always go gung-ho straight off, because there might be certain things that you need to go on a little side quest about in order to get the jigsaw pieces that then serve for that deeper knowing before you take, during the retrograde cycle. So there might be things that you might go, if you act too quickly. Trust your instincts, by the way. If you act too quickly, where you're like, God, that would have taken it to the next level if I just waited. Now, Mercury retrograde. So this is a revision of how we collect information, right? How do we communicate that information? What we're drawn to, what the details are, right? Jupiter's the bigger picture. Mercury is the sort of the details, the awareness and the piecing together of things. And so with the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, they're both being retrograde. We are revisiting and realigning how we collect information and how we then apply that to our philosophies, basically. So this is a cycle of really, it's, even though this is all really yang and really kind of outward, because of these retrogrades, this is a deepening of our inner space, our realignment around our instincts. Now that our physical vessel is feeling more at ease in the physical world, this is going to see us, as I said, old habits coming up really loudly where we're like, oh, this doesn't actually belong to me anymore. And being able to do the work to release that, and then the deepening of your instinctive nature, of the perception and the knowing around that is then shifting gear into alignment for your instincts to be really confident and powerful in how you move through the world. So what did we get? What did we get for the Jupiter Mercury energy? We got the 10 of Wands, the 4 of Swords. So we've got the fire and air come up. Pluto, we've got Judgment card come up with the Ace of Cups and the King of Wands. So this is what we're sort of working through, is the 10 of Wands, right? This sense of burden, this weight, this restriction, this figure, having lots of things to do and lots of weight on your shoulders isn't always a bad thing, right? It can be really powerful and very strengthening and just feeling very satisfying. But this figure can't even see it's a beautiful day, can't enjoy the journey home, right? Can't enjoy the outward experience in the world because they're doing it all themselves. They're hunched over, their spine isn't doing very well, right? So this is all about how we shift the perspective around the weight of existing, right? The 10 of Wands is very karmic, very ancestral, of like carrying the weight from the ancestors from past lives, and it's sort of dampening our instincts feeling very trapped and feeling very limited in their nature, of like being very overloaded with all of that frequency that is just meaning like the weight in the way that you move is really dense and really stagnant. And again, this figure feels like they're very much alone. So we're working through this with this new moon. Right, I often get this image with the 10 of Wands of, rather than this figure being hunched over, they're standing up straight, they're doing a little jig, and they've got one finger here, and these wands are just spinning, and it's easy, right? There's a real sense of flow, of movement. This is a slowness here with this one. So with the 4 of Swords even, this figure is contemplating the 3 of Swords that are no longer in the heart, right? And they're doing so in a church. So it means that they're being held by something bigger than themselves. And so this is the faith of it all, right? With Jupiter, right? Of perceiving situations and scenarios and thinking that they're always going to turn out like this. Mercury retrograde, of blocking our movement, blocking our capacity to enjoy the ride. And Jupiter over in Gemini is saying, hey, let's contemplate the fact that these swords have left the heart. Think of Mars in Leo ruling the heart space. Like they're not there anymore, and you are in fact held. You do have support, whereas this figure feels very lonely in their journey, and is calling you to pause, to rest, to be in contemplation, to pray, to meditate, in order to find your inner truth, your inner frequency. Right? Love, 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 love that. So, if you're feeling this Ten of Wands, it is saying, just spend a moment in stillness, well, however that resonates for you, because sometimes it can just be about going for a walk, and in that space, that's when you get your downloads come through. It's all going to be very different for everybody, but it is saying we need to work on this. We need to think about why we feel like this way and do some work to release it, because then we have the Judgment card. And so this is the process that we're going to go through by activating this Judgment. Hello, Pluto, over in Aquarius. This is all about old versions of self, because these are the dead, ancestors or past life energy, where they've been stuck and stagnant, where they've had a trauma, a wound that's meant an entanglement of energy, that even though that old version of you no longer is fully present, even though the ancestors aren't here on the material plane, that their energy is, this entanglement is stuck within you, right? And so this angel is playing this trumpet, so a frequency is coming through that is raising the dead, right? So there's a sense of release, there's a sense of of just like, oh, I don't feel that anymore. There, the entanglement has been undone. And so there's a real sense of ascension that we're going on with this experience of working through this, that's allowing, again, for better judgment. We've got Lady Justice and the Judgment card, both about a frequency of just an awareness of how we move through the world with a higher sense of judgment. In this case, we have the angelic realms coming in to help us out. That's leading us to the Ace of Cups and the King of Wands. So this sense of renewal, of peace within ourselves. Remember at the beginning I talked about conflict. In our actions, in our instincts. We have the dove of peace and this sense of overflow in the emotional body, right? This sense of falling in love again, and our instincts having great power, right? The King of Wands, a sense of maturity, of action, of this, the king just wants to get up and go, but it's come from a place of sovereignty, a place of maturity, this sense of awareness of cycles and the power of the courage of the heart. See the lion and also the salamander eating its tail. The courage to keep going through love, to transform those cycles through your instincts. But overall, I love that we've got this big fire energy coming in after that Ten of Wands, of our capacity to be very strong within ourselves when it comes to our instincts and our passions and our courage, and being able to move through the world with that. And that Ace of Cups is bringing me to the fact that this sun and moon are square Saturn over in Pisces. So we've got that Ace of Cups of this renewal, and Saturn is now gone direct. We're seeing more confidence within ourselves, more authority, more ability to do the damn thing with responsibility and duty and commitment to our legacy, while with working with the magical realms of Pisces, right? The non-rational, the non-linear, of things appearing out of nowhere, of situations and circumstances and feelings that you can't really rationalize but just feel very embodied. Whenever Saturn is I have Saturn square my moon, and it's a sign very common in natal charts of depression. And I'd had depression for most of my life. It's still kind of resonant in there. There's a disconnect between the moon and my Saturn. But I realized when I knew my natal chart, and I was like, oh, high difficult aspect. And then I reflected on why was I depressed? And that was often because I found that the environment I was around, the collective, the social, the individual environment, that a lot of people don't act with integrity, right? Perfectly understandable. It's part of the denser matrix. It's part of our conditioning. It's never the individual. It's always the system. But it would just dampen my moon, right? And really sort of cause me to be immobilized and disconnected from my 3D experience. But once I sort of realized that and came in, what we got, and came into an alignment, and an awareness of it, that I could then let go of it, because I realized that was just part of the cycle. Saturn square the moon and now the sun. is a real commitment to putting in the work, right? And a confidence within yourself with that, because Saturn is also square Jupiter. So squares are an aspect of Mars. They're about building, right? They're really about building in the 3D world. And Saturn is about longer term cycles in the material world of building for yourself with a level of commitment and legacy. And so whatever's coming through with this moon as it unfolds over the next 6 months, there's a maturity of how you work with it that's coming in, as well as Saturn in Pisces just generally is about making that magical reality real, giving it some foundations and being able to launch yourself with that and really become into a higher level of alignment. There's a real sense of dissolving limiting beliefs that stop you from being able to instinctively work through spirit. So that Saturn energy of like, make sure that you're just in alignment with your own integrity. Try not to get so bogged down in what other people are doing and how they're responding. You know, the sense of I've definitely come to a higher peace of you do you, boo. And it's freed up so much energy within me in order to be able to do what I need to do, and really facilitate my own experience, which in turn I then see a knock-on effect in the people around me of them being able to do that themselves. Remember, this is all very mutable energy. And so there's a sense of huge changes and shifts in our understanding of how we move through the world, that is serving us for the next part of the cycle. So the Saturn square, we in fact have the Saturn in Pisces card, which is hilarious. We have the 9 of Pentacles and the 4 of Wands. So the 8 of Cups is about leaving behind difficult, unconscious responses in our emotional body that feel very, very familiar and very, very comfortable, that do not serve us. It's about going on that journey and climbing the mountain to get a higher perspective. And so this is the implementation of this square of, again, you know, it's tying in with what came through with the devil and that Venusian energy of the if we do the work where we then see what these unconscious responses are and realize, no, this is just not serving the journey. It's not serving even the side quests, right? It's no longer a part of me. And then putting into practice the Saturn square of being responsible for yourself, being mature for yourself, and doing the damn thing. So I love that that's come through. Very powerful card, right? It's a real sense of an elevation of your emotional body because it's leading to the 9 of Cups, where you're feeling confident within yourself. So releasing a lot of those. We've got the 9 of Pentacles. Speaking of 9s, this figure is very independent. They know what they need to do in order to bring about a holistic life. And they make the decisions and they say no and they prioritize certain things that other people might be like, but you should be doing this for me. It's like, no, you do that for yourself. It's not about being mean or cruel or withholding everything. It's just certainly knowing, okay, wait a minute. Am I facilitating? Am I facilitating in a way that doesn't serve the people around me? Can I just focus on me for a little bit? So this 9 of Pentacles, as I said, very good at making the decisions and activating a level of abundance and a holistic life. Happy work, happy home, right? This figure is chilling out in their home, but it's very opulent. So it implies certain resources through their decision making have come in order to get themselves to that space. And we've got the 4 of Wands, ending on a fire energy of this sense of celebration, having put in the work. Right, because I always link this into the harvest. But to get to the harvest, you got to do the work. You got to show up every day. But there is a sense of reaping the rewards with this new moon as it unfolds. Right, this is the process that we're going on with that Saturn square, and because this is about milestones and celebrating, and they're, you know, feeling really good at the end of all of this. Right, okay. What else did I want to say? I forgot to mention that Venus and Ceres are sextiling Neptune. So again, this is an elevation of working with the magical reality of following our love and our desire that serves the integration of source within our incarnation, beyond the sort of trapped denser energies. As I'm talking, I'm shuffling some cards for the Mercury retrograde of what is the collective intention of this retrograde, what's the challenge, so 3 cards, and then how to work with that challenge. Ishali diala, dishani motofiala, itania, do itiania, diania. Also wanted to touch on about how, that's not 3 cards, how Jupiter is trine Vesta and Black Moon Lilith with this. So Vesta is our dedication, our devotion, our sense of inner, our purity of our inner soul contract in the sign of Libra with Lilith, which is all about respect, honor, and dignity. And if you're not getting that, you're moving on, right? So where you're feeling out of balance, where you're feeling like that sense of truth and resonance to the inner equilibrium within yourself, when you're feeling like that, that thought process, that belief system is coming to a head now, right? Is no longer serving the frequency that's coming through with this new moon, with that sense of integration of your inner equilibrium with that South Node and Vesta and Lilith, of really having the confidence to go your own way. Di shani moyela di shani moyela di shania do shani mo to shini diala di shanima di shali. One more card. Di shinia to fala diala di shatum diala di haha. All right, we're getting more cards for this. Where was that 3 of cups? Itinia di shani. There we go. So this is for the Mercury retrograde, Queen of Swords, bottom of the deck. This awareness of cultivating a new perspective via our crown chakra that is not based on the troubling times that we've been through, right? It's an awareness of a different perspective coming in. So the overall intention of this Mercury retrograde for us collectively is the 5 of Cups in reverse. So not focusing on where the fun isn't happening, where old times, old wounds, old grief have caused us to only focus on the lack and not realize that the 2 of Cups is with us always, right? This sense of inner balance, inner union. So there's a real sense of this is quite a heavy energy. It's quite still in its energy, and Sagittarius is all about movement. So it's a release of our blockages around the fun, the joy, the celebration, the very sort of Sagittarius energy, the sense of movement, right? Based on grievances that have blocked our emotional body. So very interesting. We've got some water showing up here. This could be linked into Saturn. Over in Pisces. The challenge for the Mercury retrograde is the 5 of Wands. So this is about just feeling like things aren't moving forward. So there's a lot of movement here, but no momentum. Lots of conflicting ideas, conflicting instincts. Again, this is calling us to focus on what's a sort of more unintegrated impulse and instinct, and what is more in alignment, right? There's an element of training with this card as well. So this retrograde is getting us to engage in playing around with different ideas, different instincts, different passions. But overall, this retrograde, the challenge is when we've got this inner conflict, when we've got a lot of different ideas and motivations running around in our head, and we're feeling a bit scattered and a bit all over the place, that may cause sort of, this isn't quite the 5 of Swords, but it may cause conflict in our instinctive actions with other people, and then we're having to do sort of conflict resolution. So overall, just be mindful that you might be pulled in lots of different directions with this Mercury retrograde, lots of different ideas, lots of different perspectives. Let's go back to that 4 of Swords and really get into an alignment with this sense of clarity, this sense of calming down, clearing the energy to see what wants to come through. So we have how to work with this energy. We've got the Leo card. So that's Mars up in Leo. And this is a sense of love and kindness, right? With our instincts and our higher self, getting them into union, right? And being really vulnerable with yourself, with both sides of this, and then working together, as I said, through love and kindness. So be very compassionate to yourself, be very empathetic with the experience, with the others around you, with all your instincts. This can be a lot of inner child work, right? With that sun coming up at the beginning of why your instincts are what they are, and with your higher self, like your higher mind, be very calming with it. And then also getting your instincts to really elevate and engage with that higher self in ways that you may not have done before. So again, Leo energy, follow from your heart, see what your heart is telling you, where there are wounds and where is the wisdom. And then we got two little bonus cards. We got the 8 of Wands, which is Mercury in Sagittarius, so that's hilarious. And then the 3 of Cups, which is what? We're rectifying, right? So there's, with all of this is an alignment, right? All these wands are pointing in the same direction. There's a real sense of clarity of alignment here in the instincts, in your passions, in your drive to the 3 of Cups, right? The sense of celebration, of union, of being with yourself, with your guides, with others. This could be source, higher self, and self, and you see they're all the same height. So the sense of pulling back that hierarchical system, as well as just generally feeling very playful, enjoying your life, enjoying your experiences and the journeys that you go on. So that's a really beautiful message to end on. I love the synchronicities with these and all that fire that's come through. Not surprising. I did also forgot to mention that Mercury, when it went retrograde, was trine Chiron over in Aries. And so again, and this is showing up very loudly here, right, of healing of the wound of the 5 of Cups that have stopped us from going into new territory, the blockages of our fire energy, of our instincts that sees us be in combat with everything other than ourselves. This leading to a sense of inner balance and a deep healing that's allowing alignment to come in and the joy of existing. Okay, gonna leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I certainly did. Very vibrant energy, very fast, very lots of just a lot of movement in the way that the energy's been coming through in this reading. So looking forward to the next 6 months as this unfolds. As I said, I'm going to do an all 12 signs video series, as well as this oracle reading with these oracle cards. I've used a friend of mine for my birthday got me the Britney Spears oracle deck, and she's a Sag, so it's come out. It's the first time I've ever used it on this channel. If you want a personal reading, perhaps to go on a little bit deeper, perhaps in the Mercury retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, absolutely anything. All my details are everywhere. I've got my website where you can book through the calendar, or just email me directly, pay by PayPal. All that sort of thing. Everything's available. Be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Safe travels, and be well until we meet again.